Welcome everyone to another broadcast of the Judge Hubert Radio Hour on the Artist First Radio Network. All past broadcasts are podcasts. Find them at artistfirst.com. And now your host, judge and author, the Honorable Judge Hubert.
All right. Thank you, Scott. I hope that you can hear me clearly there. We are certainly grateful to be with you. We are rapidly coming to the end of summertime. I'm always reminded of that song, Summertime and the Living's Easy. And it's been a great summer for many. In fact, those of us that are living in Florida right now, of course, we are in the middle of the hurricane season. And so that in itself always has its challenges. We've just come out of one hurricane, Hurricane Debbie, which brought a lot of water flooding certain areas of Florida. But all of those things, by the grace of God, we are all still here. Some people did have some flooding issues north of us. But again, we made it through. And I just hope and pray over the next few months that we'll be able to say the same thing when we get to the end of that season, which won't be until the November 30th. So I want to welcome you to the Judge Hubert Radio Hour tonight. Our guests we anticipate will be joining us shortly. But in the meantime, I got a few things that I'd like to certainly go over. You all know that our focus of our program is that of education, social justice, and of course the law. That all three of those things represent my personal backgrounds. And I can tell you that it has indeed been a phenomenal opportunity that we have been sharing here on this call. We know that our listening audience is far and wide, and we are grateful that we can share some things with you that we believe will help you. You know the theme of our show, and that is the words of Dr. Matt King Carter: never go to bed as ignorant as you were when you got up this morning. Every day you ought to learn something new. And that's always our hope, our goal, our prayer, that on this show, at the end of the show, you'll be able to say that you have learned something new. And that, of course, will take you into the evening, take you into prepare you for the day ahead. This is an exciting time and season. Those of you that are Olympics and sports fans, oh gosh, you're on overdrive right now as we're in the middle of the Olympic cycle. And we know that there are many different races. So whether you're talking about track and field, which is one of my loves going back to my teenage years, or whether you're talking about the swimming, basketball, you name it, there is something in the sports for everyone. And even this year, they added a couple of unique things that were there, one of which included breaking or breakdancing as a sport, and another one that included something that a lot of people have done, but certainly not I, and that is surfing. The surfing, while the main event venue is Paris, France, the surfing competition took place literally over 5,000 miles away in the French colony of Tahiti. And they showed the place where great waves come. For me personally, it was really, in watching that portion, it was amazing. And I could certainly not imagine myself out there battling those waves. I couldn't quite understand how those people were able to go up in the wave and yet come out of the wave. But again, this is that time and season when we take our hats off to those who are not just the ones who are the winners, the medal winners and the like, but we also take our hats off to those who made it thus far, because just being able to make it to the Olympics from countries all over the world in and of itself is amazing. It is amazing. And so hats off to all of the Olympians, because just to be there, heck, I guess you could also say even if you got tickets there, all of that is a part of something that's good. Again, we are grateful for all of what's going on. Now, on the other hand, if you are one of those individuals who follow politics in the political world, this is also a very exciting season. Some would say it's really challenging on the one hand, that we are at a place and space where folks are lining up. Also here in my native Florida, we've got primaries coming up in about 2 weeks. And that will set the stage for the general election in November. But also, of course, most of us are focused upon the presidential election. And I'm so honored to see the woman that has emerged as the nominee for the Democratic Party. This is my show. I guess I could say what I wish on that part. But I had a chance to meet her several years ago while working as president of Bethune-Cookman. She was involved. We were in a session in Congress, and there was a joint meeting between the Senate and the House, representatives from both, that were involved with helping to create funding for historically black colleges and universities, of which my school, Bethune-Cookman, was would be one of the beneficiaries. Well, we know that it was a long journey, and it took a while before those things actually came to pass. But I can say Senator Harris at the time, subsequently Vice President Harris, and then thereafter, now she is the Democratic nominee. She is now on her way to becoming President of the United States. Now, that journey is not going to be easy, folks. That's a difficult journey because we're in a time and season where people are really, really, really torn. There are those who believe that the Republican nominee that he continues to harp on this thing and say that the election was stolen the last time. Although, again, as a judge, I'm one that looks at the evidence. And there is nothing in the evidence that shows that was the case. 60 such cases were filed in courts all across the land, and not one of them was successful. Not one of them was there evidence presented that showed that there was some type of election tampering. Yet he has continued to make these statements and representations. There are people who have actually gone to jail. For example, down in Georgia, there are many, I forgot what the exact number were of those who were indicted for what we call under the RICO statute, which means that it's racketeering, influence, and corruption, corrupt organizations. And under the state statute that, would definitely result in prosecution. Some of them have actually pleaded guilty to the efforts that they made when he was trying to get something like, he was trying to get, I believe it was 11,879 votes. He wanted the Secretary of State and the election supervisor to be able to quote unquote flip those, and it's caught on tape on the call that was given that he made to those people, and that in itself shows us that this gentleman would not stop at anything in order to try to be able to obtain the power of being president of the United States. That's such a tragedy. So therefore, as a result of that, he's continued to, and I'm again not telling you all anything you don't know, it is continued to split this country because he continues to hammer it, and he has a number of people at what we refer to often as their base that truly believes that these are the things that have happened, and that indeed they accept it. They accept those things as if it is true. And unfortunately, there are people who have not only have that resulted in what we refer to as what's going on with the with that, but they have actually gone so far as to cause people to lose their lives. If you remember during the January 6th uprising that took place, we know that there are people that lost their lives. There are people that have gone to jail, gone to prison behind it. And hundreds, if not thousands of them were actually in the state, even some out of my own home state here in Florida. And so all of these are just examples of how people's lives have been upended. And, what I find to be very, very interesting about that is that, is that there are people who truly believe these things, and they follow this man even into the wretchedness of what is, in fact, it all amounts to a lie, and not one lie. There are those who kept count of the lies that he told during the time he was in office, and it said something like uh, there were 30,000 lies that were told by him. And I remember witnessing that most recent debate that he had with the current president. And even then, there were those who counted the number of lies or unsubstantiated facts, and they were over 30 done within a short window of, I guess it was a 2-hour debate. So, and yet it doesn't seem to stop him. He keeps going. There are some people that he seems to attack relentlessly. Just last week, there was the group that is referred to as the Black Journalists Association. It's a national association of black journalists. They hosted a town hall meeting, and he was invited to participate. And when he was asked about some of the statements that he has made, some of the things that he did, and yet he particularly affecting Black Americans, he of course came back with all types of venom and hatred towards the person who asked the question. And I thought that in itself showed us that he's not ready to change his position. He's not ready. He hasn't spoken out in terms of what he plans to do, but in terms of actual significant policies. But he has done significant threats, and even to the point of claiming that he's going to be a dictator on day one. There was an interview with one of the commentators, and he said he was going to be a dictator only on day one. Well, those of us who see that show, we know you don't become a dictator only on day one, because the thirst for power, which is what dictators actually have, would be such that it would be so overwhelming that it would not allow you to just do it for one day. And besides, who would want to be a dictator for just one day? If you're a dictator, then you're a dictator. You know, he also had told some folks at a Christian Coalition meeting here recently that that if they came out and vote for him, that they wouldn't have to vote anymore. He made a statement that, well, you know, Christians don't generally like to vote, and gun owners don't generally like to vote. But if you vote for him on that one time, you won't have to vote anymore. Now, you can read, if you listen to that, you can read between the lines. Are you suggesting that if we vote you in, that the United States, you're going to change things up, including the Constitution? You're going to change voting laws? You're going to do all those things that would cause us, quote unquote, not to be able to vote again. And that in itself is really horrible to think about. It is indeed something that, how could we even go through something like that? You know, it is phenomenal. But here we are in the midst of the political season. We're approximately 90 days out before we get to voting. And just last evening or yesterday in our timeline here, the designee, Kamala Harris, has become the official designee of the Democratic Party. She, of course, had overwhelming number of votes. They did a Zoom call even prior to the actual Democratic convention that's coming up. I believe it's on the 19th of this month. And she, of course, overwhelmingly received that. Now, if in the absence of our guest, and I know something must have come up. You're all gonna just bear with me. In fact, she just messaged me that unfortunately that one of her close friends was hospitalized, and she's at the hospital dealing with that right now. So our prayers and support go out to her, and we will certainly hope and pray that her friend will. And nothing like having friendship and being able to stand in the gap for one another during that time period. And certainly, again, our prayers go out to her and her close friend who was hospitalized earlier today. But we'll get a chance to have her to come on and join us again at a later time. So you guys are going to be listening to me for this, the remainder of this time. And so I'm going to share with you a couple things in and around, and hopefully that educates you a little bit about this whole thing with Project 2025. I'm going to talk a little bit about the upcoming election thereafter. And I hope that, again, that this will give you some information that is useful to you. You've heard it be said, Project 2025. What exactly is that? You hear more and more of it in the news, and you'd almost have to be someone who, as we say, puts their head in the sand in order to not have heard at least the label Project 2025. And so as we began to talk about that right now, it is with the understanding. Yeah, hold on, there's one. Okay. Well, okay, looks like we do. I'm noticing that we do have her here. She is a trooper. So, Scott, if you would like to bring her in at this time, I can put my comments on hold, and we can come back and talk about that other aspect at a little later time. So, just got the note from our engineer. So, Dr. Wilson, are you with us?
I am.
Okay, all right. Well, great. Thank you so much. And our hearts and prayers go out to you and for your friend that was, as you sent. I got the message there from you. So
yes.
I pray all will go well for her, and that she'll come out and recuperate. Yeah. And so thank you for just being a trooper, and just in spite of all of what you've been through all day long, you still decided you wanted to come on this call. So again, my heart goes out to you. Yes, yes. Now, for those of you that may not be aware, Dr. Danielle Wilson is indeed. Oh, wait a minute. Did I get that right? Did I flip it?
It's Wilson-Howard. You flipped it. It's
Wilson-Howard.
Okay.
You notice at least the brain caught it after I said it, so that's a good one. But she is an amazing lady. She's an amazing professor. She is a professor at Bethune-Cookman University. She's also been a professor at the University of Florida. She has previously appeared on our show, and we talked about a number of different things. And at the time, since then, we talked about wanting to continue that conversation because she brought to light a lot of things in the area of artificial intelligence. And some of the post conversations that we had really stirred me up to say, wow, we need to let our listening audience become much more educated in this arena. We also know that because of the time and season that we're in the political season, that there's a lot going on through the use of AI. In fact, I have already seen some things that were the products of artificial intelligence that really were not truthful, but the ability to take an image of one person, the voice of a person, merge those things together and make it sound like it's coming from the original individual in and of itself is, I will put the word out, it's frightening, it's scary that they can duplicate, replicate, and cause one to believe that this particular information came from that person when it did not. And we're already seeing it happen throughout this election campaign. And so we've got to raise up our ears to be able to see, to hear, to understand, and to be able to recognize how we separate truth from fiction. And also, of course, we know on the social media side, because AI and social media are paired together. And in fact, just yesterday on another radio show, I was listening in, and I learned that the Department of Justice is suing the multiple providers because of social media, because they failed to, quote unquote, protect children. They failed to protect children. And we're going to see where that ends up taking us, but in effect, they're trying, there's laws in Congress that want to get rid of TikTok because it is a China-based business. Although I would tell you that there are many people in this country and around the world that are making money off of TikTok. There were efforts during even the Trump administration and beyond that wanted to make it, where they wanted to force them to sell to an American company. That, to my knowledge, has not occurred. But that's just one example of the whole scheme that's going on right now. So Let me just introduce to those of you that have not had a chance to hear her before, present to others, Dr. Danielle Wilson. I don't know why I keep wanting to get it all backwards, but she's going to be with
you were
us
right,
here
Danielle
tonight.
Wilson-Howard.
All right, gotcha. Wilson-Howard. All right.
Yeah.
So she's going to be with us. So Dr. Wilson-Howard, talk to us. Tell us some of the things going on in this world, in this new frontier that we're emerging upon.
Okay. Excited to be here. Thank you again. I truly apologize for, my timing. It's been a rough day. It's been a rough week, but definitely wanted to make it to have this discussion because, like you said, it's very important. And I think one of the key things about AI that we have to realize is that it is here to stay. It is not going anywhere. So either you're going to be on the user end or you're going to be used by it. If that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. As there are tons of documentaries that explain AI. There are tons of news outlets that have dug deep into it to help people understand it. It can seem very scary, but the more you understand and you know about it, knowledge is power. And I think that's the key thing. Accept that it's not going anywhere. Know it, understand it, and then, make sure you're not caught up in it. And there's so many different parts. And when you were talking about social media, I think we discussed this last time. They said like in the future, by 2025, the majority of social media posts will be written by AI.
Wow.
Now it's to the point where you can just have an idea and you can speak it into Chat GPT or your Genie, or if you have an Android phone, or ask Siri to, explain something in a particular way. You can use Grammarly when sending out an email, and they can change the tone, the length, all of those different things. But the key thing about AI is it still needs humans. All it's doing is collecting the data in rapid speed and changing it up. But it's going to take for us to input that data that is collected. And if you take, for instance, if you're using it with work and, you want to just cut and paste it, we had a conversation with our college students and high school students and how to use it responsibly. You still have to go through and make it yours. You may use the information to study and all of those different things. They can ask, AI to break down mitosis and meiosis to a kindergarten level, and it can do that so that they can understand it. But they then have to take it and flip it and bring it back up to the collegiate level. And so you always have to constantly do those things if you're going to use it in work. But understanding it and using it to the best of your ability and not being afraid of it are the key things. Learn more about it, have knowledge of it. Don't be a victim of it.
Wow. Well, certainly that in itself is important, because for all those who are in favor of it and its uses, there are those who, in effect, say, "Oh, you got to be fearful. It's the boogeyman." So, what do you say to that? The positive uses, I believe. Go ahead.
Well, I would say to that is, once again,
outweigh.
Yeah, the positive uses definitely outweigh the negative. And I say that because so many people have invested in it. Look at how AI is not new. It's been a while for a while. Like it's not like it's all of a sudden, we snap our fingers and now there's AI. It may seem new to us, but computer scientists, data scientists, they've been in the background collecting information. And it's so funny how they do it. They will use something like social media, and we think it's just a simple filter. And it's something fun that we can play with and post and show our friends. But they're collecting the data and the demographics so that they can make the AI better. So you think about like deep fakes, when they're able to steal someone's face and voice and make it seem like it's that individual that's promoting stuff. There's also software like Synthesia where you can create an avatar. I could take your picture in front of a green screen, have you say a couple of words, and next thing you know, I can make you say whatever I want you to say forever. And those are the capabilities with AI. And so they could be used for bad, but they also could be used for good. And so an example of how that's being used for good is there's a project through Mayo Clinic, University of Florida, University of Miami, Florida International University, where they're all collaborating and looking at how can we create virtual humans that can inform people about the FIT kit and colorectal cancer screening. I talked about this last time. And so that's basically what they're doing is they're creating virtual humans who bring down that language barrier, that literacy level to help folks understand, the overall colorectal cancer screening so that they can protect themselves, get screened. Colorectal cancer is one of the preventable cancers. So if we can get this message out, everyone has a cell phone. They may not have a computer, but they do have a cell phone. And if they are attached to any hospital system, they could definitely open their records. So if we can get that message in their email, they can hear it, and we could prevent someone from getting colorectal cancer by providing them the education.
Wow. Well, talk about some of the, you're not only a professor, but you're also a mom and a wife. And talk about the impact of, if we might call it AI, social media on the family. How do you make sure that your kids are, quote unquote, protected from the negativity or potential negativity of AI and social media versus usability when it may be, say, in school?
Yeah. And so that's a really good question. And so my son, he sits and, not really, he has a tablet, but I have parental guidelines on it. So, he can't even access YouTube until he does like educational videos first. And one of the key things with any parent is you have to be able to monitor the electronic devices that your children is using. And there are guidelines within the device, whether it's a tablet or iPad. There are apps that can be downloaded, but you should not let your children use YouTube or look at any of those different social media pieces without you being aware. Now, of course, kids, the older ones, will try to create accounts on their own, but same thing, have it locked, be able to monitor those devices. That's key. One of the key things to, stop your children from being from accessing dangerous materials or media that they may not need. To stop them from, let's say, cheating on the homework or any of those things. Same thing. It's just always being engaged, with the different things that your children are doing. And we can't just leave them to their devices. They should not be in a separate room with their devices with headphones on. What they hear, you should hear. That is key. So, and I think that's one of the main things. I mean, and they are always one step ahead. If you let them you just leave them. I mean, I remember back in the day when we had the TI-83 calculators, there was a hidden screen that we can put on. So when the teacher comes by, it looks like we're doing work. And that was a calculator at the time. So I know with the phones, children think they can do more, but always, you got to try to stay ahead. Look up parental control apps, download those that can monitor the phones. I know I don't have an iPhone, but I know people with iPhones, they share their locations. Know the location of your children. My child doesn't have a cell phone yet. He's too young. But when he does become of age, those are some of the key things that parents can do. With your spouse and AI, I'm not even going to touch that. I don't know.
I guess you say a level of trust that you gotta be first of all identify the person that you date, that you go with, that you marry. There's got to be somebody that you trust, because otherwise it can be a bit crazy. Yeah, and here's the other part about social media. Social media is things that people used to not be able to do via social media. They can. So whether it's if you're, you can think of all of the negative stuff, and if it was negative before, I mean, gambling is something that in the past, people were, oh boy, we didn't want gambling because you're going to go to hell for gambling. But now people can gamble on in the comfort of their home with their cell phone. There's several commercials on right now that's talking about gambling in the state of Florida through the Seminole Indian tribe and what is it? Not just reservation, but on there, we know that down south, the Hard Rock Hotel in Hollywood, Florida, is a big place where folks can go and gamble. We know the same. They have another one in Tampa, and those properties are owned and managed by the Seminole Indian tribe through an agreement with the state of Florida and the U.S. government. And so they do that, but now they've taken it to another level that you can actually be able to gamble in the comfort of your own home using your device. And so, we think about that. That had probably had to have some type of AI technology to get to that point. And think about so many of the other things that people used to say were negative, that you had to go out and get, to go see it, be it, or experience it. And now, again, you can do that from the comfort of your own home in a hidden space. And what effect do you think that's going to have upon our society? That you can, the AI, the social media, these things that you can do just about anything. I mean, think about, I was reading a news report earlier, if I may, that talked about women who had been scammed by faraway lovers, as they call them, people on the other side of the world, but they were able to convince these women, oftentimes that were widowers themselves or older women, but they had managed to pick them up on a dating site, and they had managed to literally to steal hundreds of thousands of dollars from them because of their loneliness and desire to want to be connected. And all of that was brought about because of the capabilities of technology.
Oh, yeah. And then there was even, I think it was on Netflix. He was like the Tinder swindler or something like that. And he did the same thing, but he made it seem as though he had a lot of money and met with these women at first date and then conned them out of sending him more money. And so I think AI has made it easier for people to do it because, once again, you can, I don't know, but like I realize like on my phone, I get text messages from like, it's supposed to be the Postal Service or even now like job offers. And they're so unprofessional that you can, you want to think about some of the key things. And there's a lot of, depending on, if you're working in the working world or not, or once again, if you are not, go on YouTube University, basically YouTube, and say how to avoid scammers. Because there are key things like that you can look at, whether it's an email or a text message, to prevent from being taken advantage of. And some of those things include the language that they're using, the way that they're writing. Is it too lax to be professional? If they've never reached out to you before, if the Postal Service is not going to send you a text message about your package if you have a package coming. So it's kind of, I don't want to say exercise common sense because all sense is not common. And I had this conversation earlier with a colleague, and, older generations are more cautious, where sometimes others may see it as like, oh, I'm going to open this because these people are trying to help me. But it's like approach everything with caution and before clicking on anything, because they even have it now where, with the cookies that are, whenever they say accept the cookies associated with the website, you're giving them your data, you're giving them your information. And it could be something as simple as a small picture in an email that is capturing your data. It's to that level where it's going to happen. You could probably Google yourself and find your address, part of your address, a part of your name, your personal information out there. Because the more things that you accept, the more that you share, the more websites that you visit, the more you may purchase something from social media in particular. when it saves your information and store it may be sharing it as well. And they tell you all the information in the, before you read the cookies and you accept it, but no one goes through and read all that, all of those things. So
Right.
you have to be very cautious and just pay attention and don't move fast. So we have to slow down. You have to slow down, take the time, research things to see like, okay, is this real or could this be fake? If it's an email, look at the send or the messenger box and see if things are spelled correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Or do they have a ton of different emails and yours is included and they're telling you to click on something? You have to just be very, very cautious now, especially with anything on social media. And as you were talking earlier about this being an election year and knowing what to trust, you have to go back to, what's the source? Just like with COVID, all of that misinformation that was out, like, who do you trust? You have to look at the source of your information. If it's a .org or a .com, then that's probably not the real information. You want to go to a .gov, or if it's a social media site that you're referencing, go directly to that site. Look at the number of followers. Look at the organization associated with it. See if there's a website. If it's from either one of the parties, that's what you trust. But you don't trust anything that's put up there on social media because anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, good information. Very good information. And so as you were mentioning about the fact now that we're in the political season, just recently, in fact, I guess a little earlier today, I saw a piece that Roland Martin posted. And those that may not know, Roland is a well-respected black journalist who's got tons of, reputation. He's been around. I've actually met and talked with Roland before. But Roland did an analysis of a couple of things that have already been put out there. Now, the gentleman that was chosen as Vice President Harris's running mate was just announced on yesterday. And there are already got people that are lying on him. One having to do with the nature of his service in the military. And Roland did a point, what I call it, a point by point analysis, and called both of those particular representations lies. Now, I'll be honest, given a choice between somebody put something like that out versus listening and believing Roland Martin, I won't believe Roland. I've met
credibility.
him. The credibility is there. And even during last week's what turned out to be a debacle on the one hand, with Trump appearing at the National Association of Black Journalists Forum, and some of the things that Trump was saying on stage, believe it or not, Roland actually was yelling in the audience, saying, "No, it's not true. That's not true. That's a lie. That's a lie." And we're in a very crazy season, and I've listened to that man say stuff that I personally knew was inaccurate with the lie, but he says it with such rapidity that people won't even question it. And now I understand that he doesn't want to follow up on, doesn't want to honor the contract that he has signed for the September debate with the current Democratic nominee. He wants only to do it on Fox News. And we know that Fox News was hit with found guilty in a jury trial for a $787 million award of defamation during last time that there was a presidential campaign. And they've got to pay that kind of money. That's almost $1 billion. And Tucker Carlson was kicked off the show. But there were those who they brought him out at the, Republican National Convention. They continue to embrace what Tucker says. And at the same time, Trump sees that as his home court. So he doesn't want to do that because he figures that they're not going to fact check his lies. They're not going to call him out. And so then you get this wave of people who only watch Fox News, and they want to then believe everything that's said because they believe, of course, in what they believe in Fox News. For lack of a better, I know that sounds like redundant to say it that way, but these are some of the challenges. And And then when you look at, I was going to talk a little bit about Project 2025, but again, that's another thing that has been, while it has been put together by a number of former Trump staffers. I think it was like 130 or so, I believe is the number. It was, it's amazing. Of course, now he seeks to deny it, but the things that are being said there also sort of tie into what we're talking about in terms of the disrepute and the things that would happen if he gets in office. It's a crazy time and season that we live in, and probably unlike any other in not only the history of our country, but our parents always believed what Walter Cronkite said at the end of the evening news. I remember growing up with black and white television, and when Walter Cronkite did the 6:30 news on CBS, and he always would end his show by saying, "And that's the way it is." And people trusted what Cronkite said. But the question becomes now, and you said this a moment ago, who do you trust? Who do you trust in this environment? And how do you make sure that even what is being said actually comes from that individual? You know, that's where we are with this evolution. And I recall you also shared with me some, and I'll give you a chance to comment on that first, and before I jump into this next area that you had mentioned to me. But how do we trust news media? How do we trust what is written, even what is put forth on television? And it's amazing. And you mentioned earlier something about YouTube University. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more for us, for our listening audience?
Oh, of course. So here is the thing that I think with AI has made it very, very scary and has isolated us, where you would think that technology, no, it doesn't bring us together, because beyond Fox and beyond MSNBC, the younger generation, they don't turn to television. Like, you know, to get their news and their information, they turn to their phones. They turn to their devices. And our devices now have an algorithm where they show us what they think we want to see based off of what they hear us say. So now you have limited news coming through. So if you were to look at the news on my phone, even though it's the same news app, and that news app on my husband's phone, you're going to see completely different stories. My husband he's into guns, you know, he is into food. I'm into, cultural things, some political things, science. So there are news stories that this app feels are more important for me, and those that they feel are important for him. And until I begin to talk about certain things, they're not going to show them to me. So you have political parties who are not only divided, not just by the television, but the information that they hear and they see on their phone because of the algorithms and what they think they want to hear. So the only way that we're going to change that is if we unite and we get together and the phone begins to hear different perspectives, because it's going to continuously feed that one perspective and show you tons and tons of stories. You're going to learn about media outlets that are not credible, but they push your objective. So you're never going to really hear the opponent's objective, because the algorithm feels that this is going to keep you on the device, because you have already showed that you spent 3 minutes on this article in comparison to this other article. So I'm going to show you more articles like this one, because this is going to keep your attention. This is going to keep you strolling. And because you like this in this news app, your social media is also going to show you now new pages and social groups that can get you involved in this one thing that you like, because we think you like it. And we're going to show it to you on your Instagram and on your Facebook. And now you're going to have advertisements when you're looking at Google. Now we're going to pop up these things that we think you're interested in.
Wow. And
all of those things on your phone is going to be different from the next person, from the next person, from the next person. So if you have everyone with one main frame of thinking, one belief, all together, it's going to seem like that's the only belief. That's the only way of thinking. And I think like with the Democrats always being on the fence and having to fact check, where it's like Donald Trump can say anything repeatedly. And it's like we always feel like we have to fact check it and defend it and change it and prove him wrong, that it doesn't give the Democrats the opportunity to really push what they're saying, because it's always attacking his lies. Because that is the one thing that sells, that keep us entertained with the news outlets and all of that. So it's like we're in a very, very dangerous, isolated frame of thought state in our country. And it's going to take getting together, physically getting together, for these algorithms to change. The same thing happened with COVID when I brought my students back. All of them were against, getting the vaccine. But as we begin to do trainings and go through different, look at the science of the vaccine, look at the science of the disease, their phone began to show them different perspectives, different, more positive, vaccine-friendly. Why? Because they were discussing those things, and the phone is consistently recording what we're saying. So then the algorithms changed, and they begin to see other media that's out there. Because it's not like it's, for lack of media. It's only what it's going to bring you, what it thinks, or what the algorithm shows keeps your attention on the phone. So that's one piece.
Wow.
The other piece about YouTube University is like, once again, you can go to YouTube, type in a topic, and then find anything about that topic. So for instance, with AI, look for a documentary with AI. Go to the trusted sources. If you trust 60 Minutes, they have them. If you trust MSNBC, they have them. If you trust Fox, they even have one on AI, and you want to look at it from a very objective. You don't want to be subjective. You want to understand it. And it's the same thing. If you wanted to know more about your opponent just for yourself, and you don't want to just trust what someone is telling you, look that person's information up. Trust the sources. Look at the number of views. If it's something with a low number of views, if the person doesn't have a lot of subscribers, if it hasn't been referenced through another one, maybe that's not one to trust. It's like you have to figure out how to navigate through social media to get to that information that you need, and then trust your heart when you get to that information. But definitely so when I say YouTube University, is going on YouTube. I mean, you can get a degree on YouTube. Look up how to do anything on YouTube. And I always mess with my students about that, because they want us to spoon feed them in the classroom the information. But if they, buy something from, God knows, any one of the websites, Temu or Shing or anything else where the directions are not included, they figure out how to use it. And most of the time, you can go to YouTube and find a tutorial. My father says the same thing. You need to fit something around the house, go to YouTube, figure out how to fix it. So that information is always there. And so when we're thinking about just even the opponent, we have to center ourselves and not be so far this way or far that way. But the only way I can see that occurring is if we get together and talk.
It's interesting you say that. I have my television screen on in the background here, no volume to it, but I see that they've been advertising a lot about Safari as an alternative search engine, I presume, because it says that the thing, it says it does not track your, what you do. And they show pictures of these camera birds.
Little camera birds, yes.
Yeah, going out and basically keeping up with everything that you do. And so I'm thinking about what you just said about, we've all grown accustomed to the word Google it. And Google is a company. In much the same way we used to say in my early years about Xeroxing something. Xerox is a company, but we would actually use that as a substitute for, copy it. The same thing about Google it. It means Google is a search engine, but we use Google it in the common phrase and lexicon to say that if you want some information, all you got to do is go ahead and put it in your Google search engine. So it means that these things have actually infiltrated our day-to-day lives to the point where many of us can't live without it. Or even for that matter, GPS. When you're driving along a road into a new community, you want to GPS it, as we say, in order to find out how do we get to a certain place. A lot of people don't use the old-fashioned maps anymore.
No.
Although I do try to keep one in my car because you just never know how it may come to pass. But these are some of the challenges, I guess you could say, that we're in this 21st century that we're living in. And where does it take us?
Yeah, definitely. And once again, it's like you have to become knowledgeable about them, because even with GPS, look at the different routes and how to get there before you just get in the car and just say it. Because sometimes GPS is going to take you to the toll roads so you can, pay the toll instead of the quicker route. So it's like we have to take the time. These things are here to help us, but God gave you the brain, so use it, These tools are assistants. Don't be a slave to the tool. Figure out how to use the tool for your betterment. Some people are slaves to the tools. They can't do anything without them. They can't unplug,
Wow. So yeah, we could all take a vacation from them and figure it out. But now that we see, as we talked about earlier, saying the political season, and I think next month I'm going to see if we can do something to talk more about this Project 2025, which is coming up as another thing that's being fueled by much of the media and being fueled by a lot of the former right-wing conservative we sometimes refer to them as talking heads, people who they got their own their own purposes, I would say. And truly, they're not like folks who are black and brown, particularly, but people of good standing who have a heart for people. There are those who are just, it's all about themselves personally and what they can get out of the deal. And so they're using all these various tools that will, because again, they figure that those are methods they can use to get what they want. Well, any final comments as we get to the wrap-up phase for tonight that you'd like to share with our listening audience? I know you have such a wealth of information that, we can't cover it all in one night. I know we talked only about these two areas, but it may be three areas with adding the politics in it. But any comments that you'd like to make as we get ready for it? And you guys are getting ready for a new school year.
Academic
Whether
year.
you talk, yes, all the way from elementary or kindergarten, all the way up to postgraduate. So any final comments you'd like to just make as we get ready to wrap up here tonight?
I would say my final comments are, once again, as we learned from the blackout that happened, was it last month? Technology isn't going anywhere, If you want to get a bunker and buy the 3-month supply of packaged food for the end of the world, come and do that. But also take some time and learn about AI, learn about technology, learn about the different things that can be done, learn about different ways that people scam you, that scammers use, and protect yourself. Do not be a slave to technology. Learn how to use it and get around and slow down, especially this political season. Slow down, listen, take your time, research not only what you see on social media, but both political parties and what's being said. And, don't lose your moral code. Because I think sometimes as we lean in one direction or the other direction, we forget who we align with spiritually. And spiritually, at the end of the day, you cannot control the world. You can only control the man in the mirror. So figure out how to use technology as a tool. Don't become a victim to it. And always pay attention to your spiritual world. Those are my words.
All right. Well stated. Well, we know that, we look forward to Dr. Wilson-Howard coming back here with us at a later time, because she has such a beautiful amount of information. She's a bastion for that. And I know that I believe that where we started at tonight is where we finished. We said the words of Dr. Carter say, never go to bed as ignorant as you were when you got up this morning. Every day you ought to learn something new. I know that those of you who are listening to our show tonight have learned a lot by just listening to her and what she has put forth. So again, I say to all of you, let us continue on this journey. I look forward to you all being back with us again next month. We will continue the opportunity to be able to learn, to grow, and to become better versions, even the best version of ourselves. So that being said, we say again, thank you. Stay strong, and God bless you all. Good night.